Hello everybody, my name is Martin, this is my take on this. So today we're talking about bringing back manufacturing to the United States. We all know that manufacturing has been on the downtrend for the last 50, 60, 70 years. Practically actually since after World War II. That's when manufacturing went down and that's when service jobs went up. So the question is, how can this be reversed? And do we want to reverse that? And what impact will that have? Is that actually working? Those are the questions we're going over today. So let's start actually with the Biden administration. So Biden actually also had the idea to bring back jobs, manufacturing jobs, back to the United States. The idea was the Green New Deal. What that meant was to actually create jobs in businesses that create green energy products. So meaning like solar panels, electric cars, battery storage, these type of things, right? And that in general is actually a good idea because that's what's kind of happening around the world. We all know we have to change. And so that is kind of a good idea, or was a good idea. However, it also came with a huge price tag. And with that price tag, it's mainly just to subsidize all these companies to produce these products. So now with the new administration under President Donald Trump, he actually wants to bring manufacturing back in a different way. His idea are tariffs. We all have heard about it. We all, know about it. We all like it or don't like it. It's up to you what you think about tariffs and if they actually help to bring manufacturing back to the United States or not. So just to give you some numbers, in the 1950s, manufacturing was about 25 to 30% of the total US workforce. In 2010, that actually went down all the way to about 10%. So that's just actually, really, really bad, right? And the same is true, of course, for the GDP. Today, it's more like, 80 to 90% is service, and then there's a little bit of agriculture, and something between 5 and 10% is manufacturing. So that is kind of, really low compared to countries like China. So now we have to actually think about, how did China get so big? What did China do? Well, to be honest, China didn't do anything. It was pretty much the US companies that were looking how to increase profits. So what country can give us a low wage for the salary and a high quality of products? And China was that country and still is to this day, because China is actually the world leader, producing about 35% of every product in this world. That's actually mind-boggling. That's more than the next 10 combined countries together. So what the United States actually did was to just outsource all these jobs that we had in the United States just to make more profits for these large corporations. And everybody wants to have more profits and the top 1-2% of people to get richer. The average American more or less losing their jobs, right? So all went into service jobs, which for a while was okay. But we have to think about AI, right? Because AI will take away quite a large percentage of these so-called white-collar jobs, right? So you might actually be better off having a blue-collar job in the future. Well, we don't know that yet. But so the thing is that how is this all going? Did the tariffs already make good on the promise to bring back manufacturing to the United States? And it's actually not looking that good. At this moment, the manufacturing output has been down for straight 7 months. It's still going down, and about 40,000 jobs have been lost. in manufacturing. Furthermore, 25% of manufacturing companies in the United States are planning to lay off even more people. Apparently, that's the highest number since 2020. And that's actually kind of mind-boggling. So why is that? There's actually a reason for that. So even if a product is built in the United States, you still need a lot of parts from outside the United States. So all these parts are now 10, 20, 30, 40% more expensive than they used to be. Also because now they're held up in customs way longer than before, it takes longer to get these products. So there's cost added to it. Now with port fees, there's even more cost added to it. So an American-made product is still in large quantities made out of stuff that comes from outside the United States. And there's nothing we can do about that because we just don't have those things. We need those things from outside the United States in order to finish the product in the United States. So when it comes to the finished product, it actually will be more expensive than a product, let's say, from China or even from Germany or France. That's just not how this works, right? The other part is we just do not have the personnel to build these products in the United States. Just think of it, as said, like after World War II, manufacturing went downhill, so all the trade schools were kind of more or less closed. There are just a handful out there. So compared to other countries, even Western European countries, where they still have a lot of trade schools that are actually being paid by companies and the government, so to learn the trade is actually free. In the United States, we have to pay for learning these trades. There's no free trade schools whatsoever. So if you want to become an electrician, a mechanic, you have to go to a trade school and pay for it. Maybe the company you work for might pay for it, but you know that is not really a given. So you might actually be stuck in paying for that. And that can be quite expensive. So overall, we just don't have these personnels anymore. And then think back about a month ago in Georgia, when Hyundai is setting up with LG this huge mega plant that at the end should bring thousands of American jobs, when those South Korean workers were detained. And the South Korean government and all the South Korean people were really upset about that. So that doesn't help to actually create jobs in America, because we actually need those people to tell us how to work these machineries, how to build these products, because we haven't done that in the last 50, 60, 70 years. We're kind of like, let's say, we're back at the drawing board. We have to go back to school in order to learn how these things are done. Even President Donald Trump realized that, and he came out with a Truth Social post and saying, well, you know, we're sorry about that. We actually need these workers because we have to relearn what we once knew, and we just don't know that anymore. We lost it. We really just lost it. And why? Just for profits. So just that the big corporations can make more profits. And obviously, in the long run, that's not what we want, right? So, but then there's another point to this whole thing. So we know that the immigration laws are way stricter now than they used to be in any time in the past. And illegal immigration is pretty much non-existent anymore. Which at one hand you think, yeah, that's nice, you know, there's, you know, no illegal people coming anymore, and we're, you know, getting rid of the illegals that are in the country and everything like that. So that kind of sounds good, but when you think of it, all these people, they need to eat, they need to live somewhere, they need to go to have some jobs and whatnot. And all this money they're generating and they're paying is no longer available. But not only that, because there's less immigration to practically zero immigration with all the new laws, the United States will no longer grow. We know that the birth rate in this country is below 2 children per couple, or per woman, if you say. That means that by definition, we will shrink. And once we shrink, the economy will shrink, the GDP will shrink. Overall, we will not be as powerful anymore as we used to be. We have to take all that into consideration. It's not just bringing jobs back to the United States. So overall, we are just not actually going in the right direction with these new policies. It does not help the United States to actually grow. With AI, we're actually losing jobs in the future. With higher cost of importing products, we will lose additional jobs because the American-made products will be too expensive. So nobody outside the United States will buy these products. They much rather buy them directly from China or from any other country. So we're kind of closing ourselves off. That's my opinion. And I'm not saying that this is the correct opinion or not. But I think that's kind of a little bit of a problem there. So let me take my take on this situation and what I personally think would be the better choice. So far we have established that the tariffs did not yet bring any jobs back to the United States, any manufacturing jobs back to the United States. And it's not really clear if they ever will. Maybe if those huge manufacturing plants from foreign companies are open, there might be jobs coming back, but I don't think it will be actually as many jobs as we hope, because we're also losing quite a lot of jobs. So that's kind of yet to be seen, and we don't know that, anytime soon, because these factories will take years and years to build. Until they're operational, that's at least like 2, 3, 4, 5 years till we can see, okay, now this company actually will create, let's say, 10,000 plus jobs, right? We don't know that yet. So we'll have to see about that. So my take on this still is that the tariffs actually are not helping in this matter. They more or less upset the rest of the world, and we're not really making or creating more jobs in the United States. We also have to think about that we don't have any of these trade schools to actually get highly skilled people. In other countries, they have these trade schools where they learn years and years on how to become a perfect whatever manufacturing person we need. But we don't have that. We don't have those skills. Those skills are outside the United States, and that's actually our problem. We got rid of those skills, and we should not have done that. But again, as I said, the profit is more important than actually the good of the people and of the country. And so this is what we need to understand, that it was not China, India, and whoever who actually took away the jobs. It actually was the American companies that just moved the jobs to cheaper countries. That is the important thing to actually really understand about this thing. And so bringing those jobs back is nothing that can be done in a short period of time. It'll take at least 5 years plus, or even longer, till we have the expertise back in our country. There's nothing wrong with bringing those back. I'm totally on board with that, but we might want to do it maybe in a different way. We might want to incentivize these companies from Europe and Asia to actually build these factories here in the United States versus putting tariffs on stuff. So they're kind of forced to do something. And we actually don't know if those companies or those factories will ever be open and build something. I have to be honest, I have the feeling, even if, a Hyundai says, we're investing like $2 billion into this factory, what if they never open the factory? So for Hyundai, it will be actually a $2 billion loss because the factory never opened. So it will be a tax write-off. They will just pay $2 billion less taxes. So it actually will be, not really any good for us at all. So we kind of have to think about that, because we're kind of a little bit playing with fire there. And I think the approach to be more gentle to get these companies build factories in the United States might have been the better approach. But only time will tell what is the right move. We don't know that yet. It's still early in all this, so we'll have to see how that goes. I would like to see manufacturing coming back to the United States. When I drive around, I see all these huge warehouses being built. Just warehouses that get stuff in from China, go to the warehouse, and then distribute it into the cities in this country. And that's not actually what we want. If you go to other countries, if you go to Europe and you drive around, you will see a lot of small and medium businesses that you just don't see anymore in the United States. They're just all gone. It's just large corporations that manufacture stuff outside this country, and then we just kind of, we just consume without thinking where it's coming from or if it makes any sense. We actually don't really care, and that overall is actually, our fault too. So we should actually think about, okay, where's this thing coming from? Is this made in the United States or not? And only then we can actually change the course of this. It's in our hands to do that. So yeah, so that's my take on this. It's a little bit different. I will not actually say it's political. I don't want this to be political. It's only kind of my view on how we could bring manufacturing back to the United States. And so we just have to, be patient and see how it works out. If it actually will be positive, we don't know that yet. And yeah, we'll just have to see what approach is the better approach at the end. All right, so that's it for this video today. And thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and more videos coming. Alrighty, bye.